Hey guys, Joe here. So in this video I want to make like an announcement, I guess. So I've been toying with the idea that like this channel, honestly, when I started, was really to it was basically to grow my following so that way I could start selling stuff. Like that's really like the mindset of like why this channel came to be, right? And since that, and it's been a while at this point, like, you know, a couple hundred videos. I understand, like, I still don't have a lot of followers, which that's fine. But I don't want to just talk about business. Like, there's more to my life than just business, right? You know, as far as surfing and some other things and just other shit that I'm, you know, passionate about. And so what I originally was doing was I set up the YouTube channel, and it was just going to be, you know, my name, and then from there I would basically post all the content, and then anything that was business related would go to here, anything surfing related would go to that channel, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's just never gonna happen, right? So what I'm gonna do instead is basically all those channels I'm gonna end up deleting, and then I'm gonna be changing this name over. It's just gonna be my name. So it's like that's really about it at this point. I just I keep on looking at it, and it's like, you know, I was trying to make videos for different channels, but to upload it and stuff like that. Obviously I'm not the type that really you know, go through and edit the videos, so that's something I'll probably be looking at as well, just because we'll be having that for my, you know, my own personal company. So I'll probably have them start doing that for, you know, my channel as well. And basically the layout, I'll probably end up titling the videos you know, stuff like this before it's even you know, edited or anything like that. It's just going to be like raw footage, uncut, like whatever, you know, just to kind of signify like this is the full version. And then from there I'll basically have someone edit the videos and basically pull out chunks of stuff, because like, you know, at this point, like I just ramble, because like it's normally I'll hop on the video and it's really just because of something spur of the moment, whereas like most of the other channels that are very intentional in what they do, it's like, you know, they're coming up with the topic that they're going to be talking about. They gather all the talking points and things like that, so it's a very structured video, which that's really just not me, right? And instead of trying to fight it, again, I'm gonna upload the video, and then from there I'll have the editor go through and, like, you know, basically download that video and then cut out the chunks, you know, to put them into shorts and like the smaller type content that is going to probably be more beneficial. But just realize that starting soon, like, it's not going to just be business related. Most of it honestly is, because that's what I really enjoy when I'm working with working with more and more contractors than I've ever had. Not on a, you know, an extreme level, you know, a very deep level with each one, but it's more or less different conversations I'm having, you know, as the people are coming in, and, you know, things like that. And before I was just kind of worried that I was diluting this channel, but I was watching a video by Gary Vaynerchuk. You probably know who he is, and he's someone I look towards, like, when I'm looking to do different things. And it's like, you know, he basically explained that I am gonna probably not upset people, but probably segregate some people that are not segregate, that's the wrong word, alienate, maybe, people that are only looking for business type content. But there's also going to be the other people that would rather see like the different sides of me as well. But again, most of it is business related, but I do feel as though what's going to end up happening in this semi near future is that because of the business that we're growing, it's finally getting to the point where I'm not going to be working all the time, right? Or a need to work all the time, which is nice. Like, I feel like I'm getting in closer and closer into that transition where it's like I'm building an actual business as opposed to having to be actively involved every single day. It's where I'm able to bring in the more qualified people that have already done what I'm looking to do, to have the experience, to have a better skill set than I do, and bring them in and kind of facilitate that growth, right? Because what's been happening lately, and like basically every week we've, because it's a new business and it's like my head's not really wrapped in today, what's going on today. It's like seeing or trying to predict what's going to happen in the future, and basically get the business structured in a way that it's not only going to survive that that rapid growth that I think is going to happen, but it's going to make sure that we thrive in that kind of environment, right? Because before, like years ago, I've talked about it sometimes, but like, before, the fence company and, before the supply company that I'm doing now, before the fence company that I did before that was, working for my uncle at the McDonald's. And I just honestly, it was the worst thing. It was the absolute worst job for me, right? And do I think people should have been paid better? Yes. But it wasn't, even if I was paid 2 and 3 and 4 times the amount of what I was, just even say 10 times, I hated it, right? And it wasn't the job, well, it was the job, but it wasn't the job's fault, it was my fault, right? Because I wasn't happy in what I was doing. And the worst thing is, like, I did that for 10 years, and my uncle, whenever we'd have a meeting, not that it was all the time, but he would always ask, like, do you enjoy what you're doing? And I would always say yes, right? And it's because, I don't know, like, it was probably a combination of, one, I was kind of like stuck in that job, right? Because financially, what I was making there, to go somewhere else, I couldn't make that to start with, right? And because I was horrible with my spending habits, I was basically, whatever I was making each month, I was like, I had payments totaling that month, at least that, maybe more, right? And so I couldn't go anywhere. So I was kind of like trapped in a situation. And so, I'd basically say, yeah, this is, I'm happy with what I'm doing, when I really just wasn't, because it wasn't for me at all. Like, the whole day-to-day operations of the business and everything else, like, there was too much shit going on, and I really, like, I'm just not that person. And now I'm like going through these videos, like, I'm trying to really understand like this whole ADD thing. And like, one of the core components is really, like, they basically say time management is like one of the worst things that, the character traits, right? And it was just totally true. Like, my wife would say it all the time, even from like being at home, or like from the fence company and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, it's going to take X amount of time. And she's like, whatever it is, basically double it, right? And it would always happen. And so, like, that's some of the other things that we'll talk about through, these videos. Like, things like, there's a lot of different things that I'm really interested with, the brain and like all that kind of stuff. And but anyway, kind of going back, because I ramble. But like, one of the things I really enjoy doing is, it's really putting the pieces in place and then having people manage the operations within the business. So like the last few weeks, it's really been, we've been making changes within the business, whether it's through layouts of the warehouse, because like we're constantly trying to find more and more space, because as we keep growing, we're kind of like a catch-22 right now, is that like this business is growing, right? But then last year, the business had just started. We really weren't focusing on it. Like, I actually found a journal that I stopped doing. I basically got this notebook that was divided into like so many different sections depending on each area, between books and business and everything else, and sub chapters within that. Like, I was trying to really get myself organized. Of course, I only used it for a little bit, and then I stopped using it. But like, this supply company wasn't even really a major thought for me, right? It was just like something I saw, someone else doing, and then I'm like, And then I kept on looking at more and more and more, and I'm like, this could really turn into something, and I'm really glad that I went into it. But like, what's been happening now is we're constantly making those changes, and like, going back, sorry. So because last year, like, there really wasn't that many sales, it actually showed that we lost money within the business because there really wasn't that many sales, and then you throw in payroll and everything else, and our like extremely horrible margins and everything else. It basically showed that we made no money, right? So now it's like, to get a loan for a location that we need I can't do, because we since sold the other business that was profitable, right? And we didn't really sell it for all that much when everything's said and done, because it's it was a service type business. It was really just for the leads. It didn't come with employees. It didn't come with a location. It didn't come with like really anything. So the sale wasn't, so I didn't get like a shit ton of money. I thought it was a lot, but then like we had to sink that into the business this year, and again with the really low margins, like we were like probably bleeding out. Like, if I was better at my numbers with the system and everything else, we were probably bleeding out like 30-40% of the year, probably bleeding like $5,000 a week, if not more, right? And which is crazy to even think about. But my mindset was always like, how do we just keep growing and growing and growing, knowing that our margins are shit now? Like, how do we basically survive to get through until we're large enough to be a bigger player, so that way we can build those relationships with these other manufacturers and everything else, so we can get those margins to where we need to be. Fortunately, we're starting on that road path right now. And so we are becoming more and more profitable, but we're still in this catch-22 situation where we're not ultra profitable, right? Because we're really not that big yet. But we're seeing the writing on the wall. Things are happening, we're progressing, right? And because the way I look at it, it's kind of like a hockey stick formation. So this is where I kind of learned this within... it's really compounding interest is what it comes down to. But I had learned this, the hockey stick phrase from SEO, right? So when I was really interested in that, it's basically like you're kind of flatlining, you're kind of like slow, like really slowly going up. And then what happens is then you start getting more and more momentum, right? And instead of like this like flatlining, it's like going better. And then next thing you know, it starts going like this. Well, I think we're kind of like in this area right now, and because we're starting to see the number of contractors come through, it's a compounding thing. At this point, we, on average, at least one person a week, I would say on average, but there's could be like 2 to 3 new contractors per week. The crazy thing recently is that I never even thought this would happen, but like our, like we're having these bigger companies come in because we have a sales rep that's in. So like they're just starting to buy the one type of material as of now, right? But we're seeing that progress. So instead of like 1 to 2, we average 1-2 contractors a week, and new ones that are ordering for the first time. And those were really small guys that maybe only get a job, once a week, every other week, something like that, especially in this economy, right? But what we're seeing now is these 1 to 2 contractors a week, it could be 1 or 2 of them. Like last week, we had 2 new ones that were large fence companies, right? So we're in this area where it's like, it's just gonna like shoot off, I feel like, and it's going to be like I need to be prepared for it. So like what we've been doing is adjusting everything that we're doing, and the nice part that I really enjoy now is like, for each department in each area that that I'm looking at is talking to the people that are doing that job for the 40 hours a week, and it's basically like, look, I don't do this, you know, compared to you. Like, I'm looking at this stuff for like, you know, 10 minutes a week, where you're doing this for 40 hours, right? So then it's like having that relationship, and it's like, hey, this is kind of like what I'm seeing, because I'm really good at like seeing issues within the business and like thinking outside the box, right? And so a lot of times I'll go to him and it's like, hey, like, I'm noticing this happening, like, are you seeing this too? And he's like, yeah. And I'll be like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I said, well, imagine that like next year we're like 3 times busier, you know, is this gonna work? And he's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, all right, well, what do you think needs to happen, right? And I would be like, you know, this is what I'm kind of thinking, like, what do you think about this, right? And it's just been really, really nice, you know, working with people and kind of getting their input, and, you know, really working together. And I feel like I'm growing as a leader, and it's like all this shit that needs to happen, like, it's finally happening. But it's just a really nice feeling. But long story short, like, as I keep growing and growing and growing, not that I'm trying to get away from the business anymore, which I was trying to do with the, you know, the original fence company, because I wasn't fulfilling. This I fucking love, right? And so it's like there's gonna be more time for different types of hobbies. Not right now, because I don't have the people in place. And honestly, I don't really want to step away. Like, I thought I did, but it's like I don't, like, at all. Not step away, but like, you know, take off a day here, a day there, which will be able to happen. But like, there's gonna be more shit. So long story short, you know, 16 minutes later, you're gonna see a lot different types of content, and the title's gonna change. So have a great day.